Hello everyone, in this video I'm gonna show you how to get the bias. In this video we're gonna cover high time frame and also lower time frame, right? So let's first get started by separating all our time frame into categories. They're gonna be high time frame ones and lower time frame one. So for the high time frame, we're gonna use the daily, the weekly time frame, and also the monthly. We're gonna treat them on a separate way from the lower time frame, right? For now, let's just get started from the monthly and the weekly. We're gonna add the daily after we finish them because we're gonna need an extra confirmation for it. So first thing we're gonna know is to check where the next weekly or monthly candle is about to open. So in other words, you want to check the monthly by the end of the month, right? So where the next monthly candle is about to open. That's the only way you're gonna be able to use the monthly time frame, right? If you are, let's say, on the third day or even in the middle of the month, you shouldn't check the monthly, right? So remember to check it every time a new monthly candle is about to open. So what we have to look for into the monthly after that candle close. So let's say we are at the end of a month and a new month is about to open. We're gonna look to the chart and mark up our potentially closest POIs, in other words, key levels the price can come into. So let's say, for example, right here we have a market structure like this. And exactly right here, close the wick. And in this case, let's say that's a bearish candle. Remember, once you move from the high time frame, you don't need the whole story about ranges because remember, we are intraday traders. So our trades are gonna be small movement inside the monthly, weekly, and even the daily candle. So there is no need to mark up your ranges up from the monthly time frame. But even if you can, these may help you, but they're gonna be completely useless unless you're gonna swing trades, right? So you have your candle, and since you know it's bearish, you're gonna know it's gonna open right here. That's very basics because that's a bearish candle. So it's gonna open right here and it's gonna close right here. So the next candle will open exactly right here. Now you have to think which PI price will come close to it. So in this case, you have your order block right here. So that will be your PI. That will be your key level that will guide you through the whole month. Now, I do recommend you starting with marking a PI from below and a PI from above. So let's say you have your unmitigated wick of this candle right here, and that will be your PI marked up. So let's say you're bullish. The high chances are gonna be the next candle is gonna open right here. It's gonna tap and move up, breaking a structure. And the level is going to be potentially be used as a potential obstacle, right? That will be our high chances. If you want to see a structure, it's gonna open, it's gonna come into your key level, and then it's gonna go. There are high chances that this will happen. Remember, the high time frames always lead the rules of the lower time frame. But for the market to approach those areas, you need to wait for a certain type of confirmation, like for example, liquidity and the market structure. Because let's say if this candle where you're gonna go inside, let's say until the 4-hour closed with a strong low and already took out the whole internal range liquidity, let's say from here, there is no reason for price to approach the PI. Because remember, everything has to be lined up. So once market will make the new range, let's say you have your PI just below, it's not gonna come right here, but it's gonna follow the range cycle. Right, so keep in mind that those levels are not gonna be your entry level. This will show you where market can potentially come into, but you have to find your ranges. Because remember, that's gonna be our first check of our checklist, right? So that's the way we're gonna use the monthly. When it comes to the weekly, we are gonna do the same exact thing. So we're gonna check the weekly time frame by the end of every single week. I do recommend you checking it until the weekend so you have more time to think since the market is gonna be closed. So you're gonna wait the whole week to end, and before the new week opens, you can start marking up your level. Same exact thing you did until the monthly time frame. Now remember, you can only check them once a new week is about to open. That's very important. So don't check them, let's say if it's Wednesday, Tuesday, etc. Only before the candle is about to open. This will show you the guidance. Now, is more important a level from the monthly or a level from the weekly? Is always more important a level from the high time frame. But remember, it has to make sense because let's say those level right here is a weekly level. So let's make it in blue. But the monthly level, let's make it orange, was right here for somehow, because right now this picture right here is made onto the weekly time frame. Right? If the liquidity is right here, price will come into the weekly area. Why? Because the monthly is too far away. Right? Remember, that's a POI. In other words, it has to follow all the rules. You're not gonna select a POI if it's far away from liquidity. Because remember, price will come where the liquidity is. Liquidity is the fuel of the market. Without liquidity, price will never move. If right here there wasn't this liquidity, price will never come right here or even right here. And this is the logic that moves the market. That's why we have liquidity on every single aspect to the strategy. Think about that. We target liquidity and we enter for liquidity. Because without liquidity, our strategy won't even make sense. We have different types of liquidity because they're gonna guide us when we do our markups, when we do our analysis and breakdowns. So think always also about the scenario. Because if the liquidity is too far away from a high time frame area, it doesn't matter if it's the monthly or let's say even other time frames. It has to be the one selected from the highest time frame possible, but it has to be close to the liquidity. So in a situation like that, they're gonna probably come across a lot. You're gonna select in this case the weekly one, since it's closest to the liquidity. All right, so that's the way we're gonna approach our weekly and our monthly time frame. So now let's just move talking about the daily. Remember, the way we're gonna approach the daily is gonna be the same as we approach the monthly and the weekly time frame, right? But the only thing that changed is we are gonna wait Asia to finish. Why it's so important to wait Asia to finish is for the whole purpose of Asia. When it comes to the candle formation, every single candle opens most of the time with an inducement. In other words, a fake move. That's how a candle is formed, right? So what's the first session we encounter when the day starts? Is Asia session. We call this Asia session because it's more easy and simple for us to call it like that. But in other words, that will be 80-90% of the time the inducement of the whole day. So basically, we don't care if during Asia price mitigate a certain level or comes to a logical area. We simply don't care about that. We do our markups about our high time frame key level only after Asia finishes. So you're gonna do your monthly after the monthly candle closes and your monthly candle is about to open. You're gonna do the weekly key levels where a new week is about to open, and the daily markups from the key level only after a new day is about to open, and also after Asia finished, right? But take this in consideration when we talk about the way we're gonna approach everything. So let's say we have a strong low and a strong high. Let's say we had a daily level right here, but our strong low is made during Asia session right here. Remember that everything has to come together. So since Asia session closed with a strong low, remember that when we talk about Asia session closing with a strong low, it's not the box by itself. That's why I don't care basically if you have different timings from my Asia session, because what matter is the context that is inside. Because let's say even outside Asia price made a strong, even made, let's say, equal lows, this is about to change because now it's liquidity. You're not gonna judge the box by itself. You're gonna judge the context is put inside. So let's keep it simple and say that this is a strong low. We cannot expect price to come right here because we know following our intraday cycle that if Asia creates a strong low and we are in a bullish market structure, it should hold almost 80-90% of the time. So following this purple range, we can find our PI inside our key level with just liquidity above. Right. Always keep everything in mind. That's why it's so important. But obviously, if Asia didn't make a strong low and made simply, let's say, liquidity, in this case, equal lows, triangle liquidity, there are high chances the price will take out the liquidity coming into our daily area and then reverse. Right? That's why it's so important to tie up everything. These are going to be our roles from our macro time frame. So you're gonna start from the monthly, then move down to the weekly, and then to the daily. You wait that new candle is about to open before doing your markups. And for the daily, you wait also Asia to finish. And that will be everything you need to do about your high time frame. Then let's just get started with the lower time frame we're about to use. We're gonna start from the 4-hour time frame. Then we have the 1-hour time frame, the 30-minute, 15-minute, 5-minute, and then the 1-minute. These are gonna be our lower time frame, in other words, our intraday time frame. The way we're gonna use them is so simple. We're gonna tie them up with our high time frame. So let's say we have a range. Let me just move this for you real quick. And we have a range. In this case, let's say Asia closed with a strong low, for example. So we try to put right now all the pieces together. You're gonna be surprised about how simple it is finding the bias and get your trades. So now we have our range. So in this case right now, we're gonna use our lower time frame. First thing we need to do on our checklist is finding our range. Done. We have our purple range. Second thing is to find our key level. So to find our key level, we're gonna first start from the 4-hour time frame. Right? Always start from the 4-hour time frame. You mark your level up, and you make sure that from the lower time frame it has liquidity above or below. But let's say in this scenario there is liquidity only right here. What you're gonna do if, let's say, your 4-hour level is right here, you're not gonna take it because it's too far away and it doesn't make sense. Because remember, a manipulation is just a movement that is quick and fast. So it's gonna come and go. A very simple and fast in and out. So now what you're gonna do is jump a step lower. And let's say onto the 1 hour, you find a PI right here. Now this key level will be the right key level we're gonna be focused on. So now you simply wait price, and then you go. That's the way we are gonna use lower time frame. Now, I do recommend you to don't go lower if you don't see nothing from the 4-hour, to don't do anything less than the 30 minute. That's my recommendation if you want to catch high probable. Remember that the market is fractal, so there is nothing wrong to do this, for example, until the 15 minute. But if you want to catch high probable setup, you should stop after 30 minute. If you want to have high probable setups, you can do it on the 15 minute, 5 minute, and even the 1 minute, but you have to explore them with yourself. I'm here to teach you how to find high probable setup and give you everything I do. So if I don't see nothing on the 30 minute, I won't do any step further because that will be considered low probable on my way to trade. So that's our way that we're gonna approach the timeframes by themselves. We're gonna also know how to get our bias. As you can see, it's very simple. You do your markups from the high time frame. So let's just put them all together right now. Move this real quick. We have our high time frame, that's monthly, the weekly, and the daily. We do the markups after new candle is about to open. For the daily, we just wait it to finish. Then when we come inside our day, we use our lower time frame and we mark up our range. When it comes to finding the key level, we start always from the 4-hour and we drop below until we find the right key level. How to find the right key level? Make sure it matches the role, finding a high probable PI. So you want to make sure that it's close to liquidity, unmitigated, and check it from the high time frame. So that's the way we're gonna get our bias. Remember that when it comes to monthly, weekly, and daily levels, they're not gonna be used as entries. They're gonna be used for guide us and have a right bias. But we have to make sure it lines up also with the lower time frame. In other words, the market structure by itself. So these will may change. You're gonna decide between levels about how the market is gonna approach them and how the market structure looks, right? That's very simple. It's gonna take you a lot to learn and also gonna provide you a lot of examples. So that's all for this video. See you into the next one.